For our opening words, we are celebrating International Transgender Day of Visibility, which is held on March 31st each year. I'm going to read a passage by Lori Gorgas Laban. We light our chalice flame for those who live their lives in closets of shame, for those who furtively visited the bars where nobody knew your name, for the Stonewall riot and the fierce trans women who fought, for the plague which still takes far too many, too young, too soon. So many gone, so many never lived to see, out gay kids singing on TV, out gay people serving in the military. Marriage equality, families formed by intention. We light our chalice flame for all these and for all our siblings of the rainbow, surviving, living life out in the open with pride. Good morning. We bid you welcome. We do not ask what you believe or expect you to think a certain way, but only that you try to live a kindly, helpful life with the dignity proper to a human being. Welcome all who believe that religion is wider than any sect and deeper than any set of opinions. Welcome all who might find in our friendship strength and encouragement for daily living. Good morning and welcome to the Universalist Unitarian Church of Farmington. My name is John Benarowitz. I've been a member here now for about 8 years. This morning, we are fortunate enough to have a guest speaker, Dave Galli, who comes to us from the Detroit Institute of Arts. I'll give you a little bit more info about him when we get around to his portion of the service. I'd like to extend a welcome to any visitors today. You're welcome to join us afterwards downstairs in Adams Hall, our gathering room. When in the meeting house, we are still observing COVID rules. And I can see I'm the only one now not masked up, so you guys know the routine at this point. So there are religious education classes in the building held during the service. An usher can direct you to the proper location. I also can see that there's really no kids other than Elliot in the audience, so everybody already knows the location, it appears. So I just was saying that for our worldwide audience that's streaming us. Joys and sorrows can be shared later in the service, and you can come up to the microphone stand here to share, or you can also fill out blue cards that are in the pews and hand those forward with ushers. And there's also a phone number that you can text. If you just wanted to text the joy or sorrow, it comes to me here on the tablet. If you take a moment also at this point to silence your phones for the remainder of the service. And now, please join me in stating our UUCF mission. We seek answers everywhere, include everyone, and live with compassion. I know we have a couple of announcements today from Katie and Ari.
Oh, I'll go for it.
Three announcements.
Hey folks, Marketing Treaty Fundraising Committee here. And hey, it's that time of year again. We're so excited to kick off our stewardship campaign. You may notice some flyers in the downstairs in the Adams Hall and so forth. We are asking this year if you are in, and yes, you are in, you are involved, you are included, and you are invested. And so more about that is going to be following in your mail this coming week, so please be sure to check that out. And please be sure to join us for the April 2nd service, because we're going to have a lot of fun news and further development on that. So thank you in advance, and we look forward to our campaign with you. Thanks.
morning. I am Katie Coker, the RE Committee Chair, and I am coming at you, as usual, with sign-ups for April for RE. We are splitting the kids between RE kids under 10 and over 10. So if you want to sign up for any of our open weeks, that would be awesome. Pause. I am now coming to you as Katie Coker from the Communications Committee. As I'm sure Hope and Tom will tell you, we are having our Spring Fling. This is a first for us, April 30th. Cheryl was nice enough to print off these awesome color flyers. So if you will be at a library, a coffee house, or anywhere else that you can post a flyer in the Farmington area this week, please see me and take one of these and hang it up. Only please take them if you really will hang it up, because color printing is expensive and Cheryl will hurt me. So, but please take one and hang it up. Hope and Tom.
If you want to take a flyer but feel like you're not going to a coffee house, we have a digital flyer. We have on our website a special page that's just about the Spring Fling. So send that to your friends, your family, your acquaintances, your enemies, whoever you want that to come to the Spring Fling. And that date is April 30th. That's a Sunday after service here. Thank you.
And Hope and Sarah and others have been putting a lot of effort into that, so I think everybody will enjoy it. This is way out, but we scheduled the date, so just so you know about it. Our summer picnic is going to be September 10th. It's going to be at Rotary Park in Livonia. It's not that far away, maybe 10 miles or so. It's a nice facility. It's got restrooms right attached there. There's a playscape right basically outside the pavilion. So if you tend to put things on your calendar far in advance, September 10th is going to be our picnic.
Hello, my name is Yvonne. I'm with the Social Justice Committee, and I wanted to remind you that the Crop Hunger Walk is coming up on Sunday, May 7th. And we're still inviting walkers who want to participate. If you're not familiar with it, 75% of the funds raised goes to Church World Service that does good works all around the world, and 25% of the funds raised goes to 5 local food pantries. Anyways, and if there's any walkers here right now, would you stand up? You can also sponsor a walker if you can't walk. And so if you see all those people standing up, you can sponsor one of them as well. So thank you very much.
Holy cow, a lot of announcements today. It's a robust Sunday. Always good to see what's happening in the church. So good morning, I'm Liz Knight. I'm the board president of UECF, and I'm here now on the first official Sunday of spring with some news of new beginnings. Can you believe it's been nearly 9 months without a minister to call our own? Today, on behalf of the executive board and the ministerial search committee, I'm pleased to announce we have hired our next minister. So, Reverend Karen Madrone will be joining our community starting in May and will be our contracted minister for 2 years through June of 2025. But rather than have me tell you about her, we can hear from Reverend Karen herself.
Hello, UUCF members and friends. My name is Reverend Karen Madrone, and I am very excited to be your next minister. My wife, Michelle Georgie, and our dog Letty, and corn snake Dawn, currently live in the Uptown neighborhood in Chicago. We have enjoyed living here in the city. We live only half a mile from the lakefront, so we absolutely love living here. But now we feel that in our hearts it is time to move to a greener place that truly feels like home. Farmington Hills and UUCF feels like that place. I was ordained as a Unitarian Universalist minister in June 2019 by my home congregation, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Greensboro, North Carolina. I was a member there for 10 years. During that time, I served as an RE teacher for the 3rd through 5th grade class. I sung in the choir, and I served as a trustee, then vice president and president of the board. All of these experiences helped me become very grounded in our faith and opened my heart to serving as a Unitarian Universalist minister. Like all relationships, but the relationship between the minister and the congregation has the potential for new awareness, transformation, and risk-taking. Together, over the next 2 years as your contract minister, I will bring my whole self to UUCF as we get to know each other and live out our UU values in the Farmington Hills community. I love what I have read about your involvement in social justice activities and your history as a founding Universalist congregation. I look forward to getting to know you as a community and individually. I am very excited about what we will create together.
So big thank you to my peers on the ministerial search team, George Rourke, Jeannie Bay, Bev Church, and Linda Brown for their help in this process. We actually began meeting almost a year ago. And while we face challenges in the form of local competition and nationwide staffing shortages, we remain true to the culture and goals of UUCF. We feel that Reverend Karen will be a great fit in our community. In addition to her ministerial work, she also brings with her knowledge and experience in nonprofit work serving marginalized communities. So I know you will all make her feel welcome in this community as we continue our mission to seek answers everywhere, include everyone, and live with compassion.
I didn't get a preview as service leader, but now I know why Liz wanted to go last with the batting cleanup with the bombshell there. Great news. All right. Next, I have the pleasure to introduce our speaker for the day, Dave Galli. Dave has been a volunteer at the Detroit Institute of Arts for over 20 years. He started on their membership committee and then served with the Gallery Information Committee. And for the last 12 years, he has been a trained docent leading tours through the museum and all over the Metro Detroit area. His day job is in the field of property management. Please welcome Dave Galli. Oh, well. Oh, sorry, I skipped that part. Please rise for hymn 309. It's very clear in the order of service. You people should have seen this.
Good morning, everybody. How are you? Wow, how fantastic. Get to follow music and, a great video, and I hope I live up to that. Thanks for introducing me, John. Appreciate being here, everyone. Great to see you. And I like to ask, too, how many of you have been to the DIA? Just curious. Oh, wonderful. And if you haven't, come on down. We've got some art, right? And it's great art. So how long do I have? I'm an entertainer, apparently. So how long do you want me to go? Just the hour, okay. Stay on task. Right. I got the eye. All right. So any English people in here bothered by the way we spelled scene on there? Yeah. That's a deliberate pun. So we're going to take a look at some of the art, some facts and details about art in this talk. We're looking sort of behind of what we're seeing, right? Mostly we experience art through our vision, right? So we'll take a look at some background stuff. And this one's at Cows at the Opera House, whatever that means, and other mysteries. And this was born out of the Fakes, Forgeries, and Other Mysteries. Did anybody see that exhibition about 10 years ago? So we're going to look at some of those pieces here. And, mystery is something unknowable, you just can't define it, and we don't always know why people create these artworks. Of course, we may never know why anything ever gets created, but these are just ones that we find interesting and fascinating, and science plays a big role, and we'll see how that happens here. And our first piece here, if you can see that, this is a Native American mask, Northwest Native Americans, the Northwest Coast, the Kwakiutl, right? Or as we also we were allowed to say is Kwakwakiwak. Yes, it did take me a long time to learn how to pronounce that. And what do you, normally my talks are a little more interactive, so if you want to say some things about them, please feel free, raise your hand, have a conversation with me. This particular mask would be worn, right? And there's some things that we notice about this mask. Like, who would create this? Why would we create something like this? To me, it doesn't look very friendly. It looks kind of scary, right? We've got those deep eyebrows and the hairs on there and those bulging eyes and that mouth that's pursed, right? And a big hooked nose. And so who is this? This is a mask of an ogress, right? So I got trained by Shrek to expect ogresses to be, lime green. So here we have an ogress here. And her name is Zunokwa. And what she was known for was to snatch away young children who strayed too far from home. So imagine some guy, men would have worn this during a potlatch, right, a celebration, and jump out in the evening with the fire and all of this, and making noise through that mouth. Whoa. I don't even like that echoing in here, right? So imagine something like that jumping out, and this was used to help, teach and inform and create stories for the Native Americans up the coast. And it's in a case, and it's out on view. So I also try to tell you if something is out on view or it needs to rotate, and we'll discuss why it needs to rotate, okay? And the next one, sometimes these are like, well, what's the mystery, right? This looks like a guy's in a harbor on a boat with a large harpoon, and we see somebody floating in the water. Well, not floating, he's alive. He's swimming. I should buy a pointer. There's actually someone right here, and he's got really long blonde hair, and it's a man. But he's missing the lower part of his right leg. And what do we see over here? Kind of get an idea. Yeah, shark. So this is in the Havana Harbor, and we see this image. This was commissioned like 3 times. Oh. Whoa. This is the best day ever. I mean, this is great. This is great. Thank you. I will point. You laughed the hardest. I know who did it. So we see this image here. There's also the same image at the Boston Museum of Fine Arts, but ours is like smaller and more vertical and close up, like in film. And it's a story of Brooke Watson. Oh, yeah. You told me which one to press, and I did not. right here. And he was an Englishman, and he was swimming in the Havana harbor and was attacked by a shark. So here we see his dramatic rescue by this boat right here. But we also know that this shark has lips, and we know that the artist had not seen a real shark. So this is his interpretation of that. And there's some extra fins back here, right, like that. But it's a pretty dramatic moment. And we know some traditional artistic ways of doing things, like with the triangles. We see different triangles. There's a inverted triangle here. We've got a triangle right here with people, like that. And we interestingly have this person of African descent. And it's never been identified as to who that is or why he's even there. Was he enslaved? Was he freed? We don't know, right? So there's a mystery right there too. And also, why would you want to capture this? Well, because of his survival, and he made it back to Boston, Brooke Watson, and they fitted him with a wooden leg, and then eventually made it back to England. And he wanted to commemorate his success and thriving despite his loss, okay? And it's sometimes symbolic at this time period, right? 1782, so we know there was a revolution a couple years prior, that oftentimes in English art, something severed, an image of something severed, represented like the loss of the 13 colonies, but England still surviving, like that. And this one's always out, and it's a fan favorite. Like that, because of the, I guess the shark with lips, like that. Oh, look at this, wonderful, wonderful. And this one's back out on view. Okay, this is in the European medieval to Renaissance, and it is entitled Salvator Mundi, Savior of the World, 16th century, about 1500s. But it says unknown artist. If we saw it a little more clearly, can you see the sphere here, right? That's going to represent the world, this glass sphere. Anybody know what that is when you do that symbol? Yeah, you know what that is? A prayer or a benediction, like that, right? And it looks a lot like images that we've seen of Jesus, right? Savior, Salvator Mundi, Savior of the world. And when we look at art and we collect art, we love to have like written information about it. Can we trace this from the current day back to the owner? I mean, the artist. It's called provenance. And we want to make sure it's clean. We want to make sure it wasn't stolen or damaged or altered along the way, because we've discovered that. Well, for years, because of the brushstrokes and the fine way it was created, all this detail. There is a lot of detail right here, like that. We thought it was Da Vinci. Ooh, we were so proud. It was a Da Vinci. The DIA's got a Da Vinci. However, we are the 6th largest in the country. Do you know that? Yeah, no, we're in the same league as the Met, Boston Museum of Fine Arts, Chicago, New York, and I guess I get dismissive about LA, but there's a lot of money out there and they have a big museum, the LA County Museum of Art. And then there's the DIA, right? About 65,000 pieces, less than 10% is out. And we're always rotating, works on paper. Oh, I'll get to that in a minute. So we thought we had that. But here comes science, right? So now we're starting pretty quickly on the science. So sometimes things go off view, they go in conservation, we just want to check things out. New technology gets developed. And we were able to detect that the wood that this is made, painted on panel, and the paint was developed about 30 years after the death of Da Vinci. So there's no way he could have painted this. Off the walls for a couple of years until everybody forgets, and then we do some scholarship. And oftentimes, too, other artists go to museums. They visit these places, right? They would call that a grand part of a grand tour, going to Italy, France, and Europe to learn about art and artists. And oftentimes, they would copy the artwork that they see. So it's been attributed to the gentleman's name that I forgot, and I don't know if you know who it is. I'm not going to butcher it. So we have it attributed to, because we think it's him, because it isn't signed. If we see really early work, like thousands of years ago,
you're an artist, you just worked for the king and you just didn't get to sign anything. So there's no way to identify who made what. So it's a good size. It's a little medium portrait. It's not that big, like that. This image is far bigger than what it is. I mean, than what the image is up here. All right, science wins. We'll step back. We change our mind, right? We change our mind about pieces. As we do new scholarship on that, we will change the label. And we're coming up to one later on where we really got it wrong, but it's okay, because we'll talk about, I'm going to ask your opinions about it as well. Now, across in the older section of the museum, across from that Watson and Shark, and it's a hexagonal room, directly across is this piece. And it is probably that big. And it's actually a study. So not only do we want to collect the actual art, but we're okay with and encouraged to collect studies of art. Oftentimes artists, because this went on a wall in Windsor Castle, so a huge wall in Windsor Castle, oftentimes artists will do it small to work out some details and then put it up on a larger wall. And we have Death on a Pale Horse. Why this is at Windsor Castle, I don't know. But Death on a Pale Horse, 1796, by the American artist Benjamin West. And we see death in the center. On here, it's really creepy. Come down and take a look at it. It's a skull. It's it's really hard to see here. It's a skull here, and we see all kinds of death, right? All kinds of death all over, with and weapons and sickness and disease and war. And this is a biblical story, right, from the Old Testament. St. John is opening the different seals, right? And I think in the 6th and 7th chapters, he's opening the different seals. And then when he opens up that one, he lets in the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. So we have the white horse in there, we have the red horse, we have a black horse, and then we also have the pale horse, where death comes in at last. And one of the horses, I think the black horse, has the scales, like who's going to live, who's going to die. We see a red horse over here, a white horse here. Where is it's hard to see right here. Here's the black horse right there, like that. It's pretty gory. It's pretty gory. So again, one of those, like, why would you pick that biblical story? But apparently they wanted that in Windsor Castle. I don't know if you know this, but earlier, a couple centuries earlier, somebody somewhere developed, and it was agreed upon, like different levels of subject matter that are important. Biblical, historical stories are the best and considered the best. And then it goes all the way down to, like, still life is at the bottom, right? If you're a still life painter, thanks for trying. But we also want to know, like, why biblical stories and historical stories? Well, as an artist, you want to get paid well, and you want to make the money and feed yourself and all your families and like that. And the more people in an image, the more money you made. Also, you wanted to show your intellectual prowess as an artist. How am I going to interpret this biblical story? So I need some sort of level of education and knowledge, and how I'm going to interpret it for you, the person who commissioned the artwork. And so that's why you would want to get those biblical and historical stories. Of course, you got to make money too. Man got to eat, girl got to eat, so woman got to eat. So they would often paint portraits as bread and butter, like that. So a little sidebar on that. But thank you. Don't give me a microphone. I'm gonna go and go and go. Kind of like it. So this one's not out as we reinvent our contemporary department. We still have more than half of the galleries closed. Did anybody come down and see the automotive design show? Yeah, that went on forever. Oh, wait, I'm not allowed to judge. That's not from the DIA, right? That's David's opinion, right? Forever. And obviously I worked in automotive for 11 years. I was okay with it going back and bringing my babies back. This painting is about as large as this image, maybe a little bit larger, but it's interesting now. So we looked at images, right, that Watson and the Shark, everything's very realistic, lifelike, finished, perfect, glossy, all of that. And now we're in the 1950s. We also have to consider the times of what's going on in the world and location. He's English, born in Ireland, and they consider him more of an English artist. It's really unique as we keep looking at it, right? Does it look clear? No, kind of fuzzy, and these giant hash marks all over, right? All of this. And I think it's a he. It's called Crouching Nude. But where's the head? We don't see it. Does this look like a comfortable position? Not at all. Not at all. It's in like a glass sort of square, but then it gets funkier at the bottom, right? It's circular. Well, how is this? And what Francis Bacon was known for is doing these anguished figures post 2 world wars in Europe. So how do you create art that means anything anymore, right? He's seen images of Auschwitz. How can I create something fun and happy when this kind of awful thing has gone on in the world? And so as the world is recovering from the world wars, we're experimenting also with just sort of this, how do you put the feeling or experience into something that we see? So we start to get a little glimpse of feelings from Impressionists, but here we are like in the 1950s. It was part of that abstract. Now, European art had more figures in it than American art. American art got really abstract and took the human figure out. So I can't wait to see these big things coming back. All right. So this one by Washington Alston is about this big, and it resides in America. In the American galleries, and as you're going through the American, we do it chronologically. So we're in that time period, right, the early 1800s. People are settling back. You're going back to your farms. You fought in the Revolutionary War. You got your Order of Cincinnatus medal, and you went back to your farm and got back to your life, right? So this is an American, but painted this story. And we also noticed, too, that they haven't really studied too much of how horses really run or are leaping. Right? And we notice what? She's looking backward, okay? And her name is Florimel. So, when you're studying art, it's not just about the art. It's about the, social studies and cultures and history and geography and what we used to call, certain places. And then if we get into the science of it, holy cow, you're studying a lot more than just art. And this is one of those that's taken from a poem. By, I want to say Spencer. And it was written, it was a very long epic poem, and Queen Elizabeth I was known to have loved it so much that she gave a pension to the poet who created it, even though he never finished it. Of course, there's no record of her actually reading it, so maybe somebody read it to her. All right, ladies, here's the story, and I pick on you because of this. I'm not picking on you, of course, because, I want to come back and speak. It's the flight of Florimel, and she's supposedly being chased by some unknown evil, right? And that's why she's looking back. And why is she being chased? Well, she's racing through the forest to find her betrothed, Marinelle, who rejected her at first. Why is she chasing this guy who rejected her and risk her life going through this forest? I don't know. I guess I don't get to say about love, right? So to me, that's the bigger mystery. Okay, and all these, and so eventually he's wounded, and she finds him, and she has proved his love to her. She has proved her love to him, and so then they get married. Sorry, I know it's a church, but I'm judgy. I'm a little judgy this morning. Okay, it's fun. Okay, great. It's an interesting painting, right? And then when these stories behind them, and so we'll have more fun with the horse. But I gotta wonder sometimes. We see some dangerous horses there. I think those are guys on the horse like that. So let's go a little gorier. Well, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. So this is a little tiny piece. right? So now we're in what we call modern. Our modern section is about maybe 1860 to about 1950. We call that modern art, and then we tip over into contemporary art. And this is another lovely image, right? More horses. Horses seem to be a theme on this. But the horses are doing something interesting here. And look at the colors. Is this like as pretty and pastoral as the prior one, right, with the landscape? No, it's kind of gory, very bloody red and blood, right? And I don't know if you can notice, this horse has his mouth on his calf. And there's another horse, the black horse, biting his arm. Who paints that? Well, apparently Gustave Moreau does, and they were known as symbolist painters, but not really like the Dutch with, if you put a world or a globe in there, that means you're a worldly merchant, or you have a pen and inkwell that you're learned in writing. These symbolists do something a little bit different than that. This is, anybody know the story of Diomedes being devoured by his horses? Well, Hercules has these 12 tasks he's got to do for the one king. And so the 8th labor is to go to Diomedes and take his horses, because this other king is, I guess, greedy and wants those horses of the king of Argos, who is Diomedes. But the problem is those horses were fed human flesh for food, so they're pretty violent horses. So Hercules gets the great idea, I'll throw the owner of those horses to the horses, feed them, and they'll become tame, and then I'll take them. And that's exactly what he's got going on here. So don't feed your horses flesh. You may end up being lunch or dinner, right? I'm a buffet, I gained a little weight, and I can't get rid of it. So like that, right? So it's just they like to pick these Greek mythology stories as well, like that. Oh, the mummy. Of course, we've had a mummy since at least 1901, and that was actually, we got that when we had our first building, right, which was at Jefferson at Hastings, and we were originally called the DMA, the Detroit Museum of Art, and that opened up in 1888. So we've been around for over 130 years. And most people think they were kind of young by opening up the current building in 1927. So this mummy's been around for a long time, and it's in the museum because of the way the mummy wraps are and the gold painting on the face and such. And for years, we still have docents that's got little issues about this, but that's okay, because I did a little bit too. I said, the mummy, she's been out, right? And we see an x-ray. We keep the x-ray picture here because these have gone to the Detroit Medical Center for x-rays, right? And that would be part of our scholarship. And then in 2014, all right, I'll just tell you the truth. Somebody noticed a little bug in the case. That's very bad when you have like materials and cloth. So whisked her off view, tented it, killed whatever bugs there are, straightened up maybe some of the wrappings that might have come loose for anything. So we, our job isn't just to show it, to make it look nice. We're holding it in perpetuity for future generations, right? And that's our mission. And so we decided to have it x-rayed again. Well, modern forensics technology revealed the jaw and the pelvic bone are not that of a woman, but of a man. So for 50 years, we've been calling her a she. And sometimes it still comes out as a she, and it's fine. It doesn't matter what the pronoun is. But, science can tell us what how your body structure is. So now, it's a male or a boy, maybe between like 25 and 40 years old. So again, science saves the day and foils whatever we got going on. So if you're a rich courtier, by the way, and you're waiting around and waiting around and waiting around for the lady to get ready, and because it took 3 hours to get ready in this time period, right? We got really made up. You would sit around and you would try to decipher the different stories in here. This is an allegory of immortality, and it's broken down into 3 sections. And it's a small piece, it's right by the door, but again, you got to really look to see the gory. Right? So these folks are being tossed around in this like black river right here, ooh, so we see this giant naked person thing here, but he's vomiting into the river. All right. So we got a cyclops vomiting into the river. And then we've got a harpy here in the center, and harpies were known, right, to defile everything that they touched. And then we see a gold sphere here, somebody hanging upside down here, maybe and a phoenix over here. And anybody know who that is bringing the sun in? Apollo, right? And generally, it's preceded by aurora, the dawn. So you're trying to look for these different symbols of immortality, life. We also, so the phoenix, right, rising from the ashes. You see that up here. The symbol for the world, infinity, the snake's biting its own tail right here. Right, and you want to, impress your friends that you know what's going on in the gory scene. Well, allegory, sorry. Misspoke on that, right? Like that. So yeah, weird subjects, right? Weird subjects. Oh, Doña Amalia Bonel de Costa, 1805, by the great Spanish artist Goya. It's not that big either. This is up on the 3rd floor. Oh, most of these images are out on view, by the way. We haven't quite got to anything that's off view. And she's wearing black, right? She's got a fan in her hand. What would we say about her? What, grieving? Yeah, grieving, right? She's wearing the black. That's what we thought, okay? So that's what we thought for a long time, until we get a now director from Spain. She's not grieving. She's a married woman of a certain class, and so when she goes out in the public, she's going to wear this black mantilla that would alert everyone that she is a wealthy married woman going out. Like, oh, that's what that means. Okay, so erase that label and create a new one, right? But there's also another mystery, right? Because we're going to x-ray these things, and we found, you can't see it very well, I can barely see it on my image here, she's wearing a brightly colored dress. So why was that? What happened there? Why was that painted over, and made it all black? So we don't always know why. If it's not written down, we don't have any way to trace it. We don't always know what's going on there. So at first we thought she was in mourning, and then we they want to make her look more Spanish because for Spanish folks at this time, black would be your best dress. This would be your wedding dress would be in black. That's a clue for another painting inside the DIA, because if you're looking for a bride in white, you're not going to find it because of the Spanish influence of that. So yeah, we keep getting it wrong. So it's okay though. It's not that many out of 65,000 pieces. In the same gallery, literally across the way in the wall, is a good size painting, about that size, right? And we can kind of get something's going on, sort of monstrous scene. We get it's in a landscape, but it doesn't look very happy, pastoral, serene, right? And we got a guy doing one of these, staving off the wicked storm. And this is also from a poem called The Four Seasons, and this is from the summer section of it. And so, all right, here's another mystery. The clap of thunder and lightning scares her so much that she dies in his arms. I don't know. The guys are just not nice to the ladies, in my opinion. This time period. What does that, right? But try to, I'll save you. Look at his face, strong, determined. Dies in his arms. Poor Amelia, like that. Just another one of those. Why would you choose this story out of all the other different stories of that particular poem? And really, you're gonna die from a clap of thunder. It better be loud. Right? He better be a little bit deaf, too, like that. It was also at a time, too, that they were experiencing, the start of industrialization. Things are really changing around them, and they're also having, thoughts about, what's going on in your psyche. Well, we use the term psyche today, but the subconscious and the unconscious, like that. It's right next to, holy cow, seriously? I started at 10:50. All right. So, the next one. Here we are, Cows at the Opera House. This is it, the big mystery. But, right, this is by the Belgian artist René Magritte. You've probably seen his work with the big apple and the guys with the bowler hat on like that. Photographer, this is like the surrealist group, hangs around with those folks, has, they learn to use photography in a way that you can overlay images and create goofy, unique ones, right? So we see these cows at this old opera house out in the field, right? We see our cows in the old opera house in Paris, like that. And fun fact, it doesn't really mean anything. Whatever you want to make it mean, you can make it mean. And that's like from the artist himself. There's a quote. It's like, make it what you mean. This is, I haven't seen this out. This is photography. Works on paper, photography, prints, drawings. They always have to rotate because light and humidity damages it. So this will be out for 3.5 months, and then will be in storage for 2 to 4 years after that. So that's why you want to see those prints and drawings. Oh, we have a great prints and drawings exhibition like that. This one is a bust of a prelate or a scholar, 1545. So now we're just in the next room next to that weird allegory of the puking Cyclops, and we have this one. He looks creepy because he's dead. What they did was made a bust of his face, right, and had that created. And we were studying science and anatomy at the time and mathematics. So we're really interested in exact details and likenesses and the creation of science. And we know he's from Northern Europe because he's got the hat with the flaps on his ears where it's colder, right here. All right. So this is one of those fantastic pieces. This is a perspective box. In the Dutch section, we actually created a replica so that you can look inside of it, because ours is unique. There are only 6 of these left in the world, and ours is the only one that's 5 sides. Okay, so you have the front. We show it with the front off so you can see all the decoration in the inside, and then you've got the two. So you got the front, the 2 sides, and then it pinches in back. So if you tipped it up, it would look like a house just laying on its side like that. And it's really out of perspective when you're looking at it, right? This is a huge dog. The people are small in the back. There's an interesting cat over here, and the knife is huge. But when you put that front cover on, and you look through the little hole, and this swivels so that it allows light in, everything comes into perspective. But we don't know how they created it because there are no blueprints for it. So how did they know this, that when you put this on, you look through this little hole, how do they change all of that? It's really fascinating, really fascinating. Sorry, I'm hurrying. I had the 5-minute warning. I got 2 more pieces. This one is our second largest painting. It is probably all the way up. If it went all the way up to the ceiling, right to down about here, it's really large. And another biblical story, right, of Belshazzar, who's profaning the writings on the wall of the stories about the Jewish folks. And here's Daniel saying, hey, you better pay attention to this. And we see the queen here, and there's a big feast up here. You can't see it here, but there's tons of people feasting and eating. It's hard to see is that it's unfinished, and there are red lines. See these? These don't belong to that guy. He actually has, they have underdrawings on them. A lot of artists for a long time will write and draw on their canvas or their board and then paint over that. Those are called underdrawings. And the mystery behind this is, why isn't it finished? And it's because he listened to too many critics, and he moved from the U.S. to London and back to the U.S. Over 24 years, he still didn't finish the painting. It's still considered his masterpiece, but that's part of the mystery. And it's a great way to show people like where he's positioning feet. And when you come and see it at the DIA, this guy with the red hood here with the beard or the full Van Dyke, there are actually 2. He's still trying to place the face, if you look at it closely. All right, let me finish with this one. So this one is Gudea of Lagash, right, in our ancient Middle East section downstairs. So it looks carved, okay? It says it's 4,000 plus years old or about 90 years old. We're not really sure. And we're okay with that because we put it in the case with the arguments, 3 different arguments of why it may be authentic or a forgery. So when you're looking at stuff like this out of stone that might be 4,000 years old and nobody signed it, we kind of have to go on whomever found it, any writings or whatever. So we have Gudea of Lagash. Oh gosh, this is so great. Everybody's doing this leader of the city of Lagash. Those hands, right? So the right hand is over the left hand like this. Most of the known ones are cupped. Well, come on, Forger, how come you didn't get that right? So, okay, so it may be real, it may be not. Well, by real, I mean authentic. The hat is really great, but they're made with a whole bunch of little dots as decorations. Anybody play pool? You know, when you set the triangle up with the balls, they're staggered, right? So the round balls, and then they sit like this, right? That's how ours is. But all the known ones that can be verified, all the dots are stacked in a row, like tic-tac-toe. Oh, darn. I know. There is a wonderful Sumerian pun. Anybody speak Sumerian anymore? No, exactly. Right? There's a great Sumerian pun on the back. You have to know everything about, that. So who? Well, apparently there were two forgers in the 1930s at the time who could have forged that on there. And so, okay, the last thing is the stone. It's not the right stone. But they could have traded. This stone came from Pakistan, and it's not the stone that they would have had in Iraq. So we leave it up to you, the visitor, to decide for yourself if this is authentic or not. Right? And we also, I don't know if you know how that gets dated, because I asked the curator, and it's, because I haven't been on an archaeological dig yet, and with stone, you can't carbon date it, so you have to carbon date whatever is buried in that layer. So that anything with carbon, animals, plants, that you can get access to, you can date it that way, and then anything that's buried there is generally from that time period, right, like that. So we have some mysteries. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate that. Thank you. You all set, John? Yep.
Thank you, Dave. Oh, let me get this off now. No, I take this off. Thank you. That was terrific, as I suspected it would be. And it sounded like you want to appear again, but, so that's... That's more about me. Yeah. It was. I enjoyed it a lot. Thank you. Now we come to our offering for the week, and as we take the offering, we also acknowledge the generosity and intention to support and build this welcoming community. A perfect heart is one that has known love and loss, joy and sorrow. The perfect heart is one that has been shared. As joys and sorrows of our community are shared, please direct your energy, prayers, and meditations as a gift of compassion and strength. Now please rise as you are willing and able for the second hymn, 301, Touch the Earth. Now we close with some words from Sam Trumbore. Go forth in simplicity, find and walk the path that leads to compassion and wisdom, that leads to happiness, peace, and ease. Welcome the stranger and open your heart to a world in need of healing. Be courageous before the forces of hate. Hold and embody a vision of the common good that serves the needs of all people.